Yeah, I think, okay, so a lot of people like to ask me what it's like when you make your first million. And remember, I made close to $1 billion in revenue. So the first million is really interesting, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is because if you're doing it right, you won't even notice that it happened. The train is just going through another stop. And that's one of the craziest things. I didn't even notice when I had made my first million. It's not like I stopped and there was some ticker tape parade and like, yay, we made $1 million. It was just one stop through a lot of train stops, a train station far away. So that's an amazing thing. You know, somebody said that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that's really true. So if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. Look for something that does feel right to you. And there's a lot of amazing opportunities out there. But at the end of the day, I really feel that you got to follow your gut. But at the same time, you got to verify. So you got to make sure that you have checks and balances so that what you're really trusting is your gut and not your insecurity. And
Break that down a little more, because
okay.
I think that's really like some old sage wise knowledge there. Like, trust your gut but not your insecurity, because I've fallen that before where I'm like, oh, this is the right thing to do, you know, I'm puffing myself up, but it was really my insecurities taking over. So maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I had a good friend, a guy named Stuart Wilde, and he was an author in the 1980s. Was one of the founders of the New Age movement. He taught people like Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and all these guys. You know, he was, he was oftentimes talking to Tony Robbins and a lot of these guys. He was one of the early guys in the human potential personal development movement. And one of the things Stuart was, he was definitely a degenerate gambler as well. So we would often go out and gamble in different places, and he liked to drink and he liked to do all the bad things that you're not supposed to do when you're a self-help guru. And I remember him telling me, you know, when we were at casinos, so we would count cards, oftentimes playing blackjack, and we did incredibly well doing that back in the days when it was, I think, a lot easier to do that kind of thing. And he would always teach me, you know, play your hunch, it'll have your lunch. And that was kind of his motto. And this is coming from somebody who really was like, I mean, dude, I don't really believe so much in this stuff, but really verging on like somebody who was as close to psychic as I think anybody could get. Like a guy that had a real bulletproof fucking intuition. Like, I don't know how he did it, but he would just know shit. And I'd be like, yeah, you know, I'm a science-based guy, and like, you know, I don't really fuck. There's an explanation for fucking everything. Science can explain pretty much everything, and there's some things that we just don't fucking know. And outside of that, I don't think there's much. But there would be times where he would just like know shit where I'd be like, how the fuck did he know that? And it was just, you know, I think over the years he developed like this intuition, this gut sense that he had a way of checking it against his intuition. So I think oftentimes, you know, there's that inner voice that we have. And that inner voice will tell us something. We all have that inner voice. That inner voice tells us all kinds of shit. So how do you know when to believe that inner voice? It's that quality, that trait that you can develop, right? Like in jujitsu, for example. Sometimes you might not be at a mastery level. You might not be at a brown belt or a black belt level, but there's a guy on top of you and he's trying to strangle you. He's trying to fucking choke you out, however he's doing. You might not know the counter to that, but you follow your gut and you get out of it. How did you know that? Maybe you saw it and you paid attention. You saw somebody else doing it, and there's something about you that remembered that. And in that moment of survival where your conscious mind was quieted, your true intuition came into play, and you were able to execute on that. So I can leave you with this. So my friend Wayne Boss, who's Australian businessman, he's a business mogul. I think he's a billionaire. He claims he's not. He says he's just a millionaire. Genius guy. He comes into troubled companies, buys them for, you know, song and a dance, turns them around into mega companies, and then sells them for hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. He's a friend and a mentor of mine. He teaches us three things. He says that if you want to win, you got to have three things: knowledge, courage, and action. And I have this outlined in my book. So knowledge is the information that you need. How do you get knowledge? You can buy knowledge, you can borrow knowledge, you can steal knowledge, you can rent knowledge, but you got to have the knowledge. Without it, it's difficult to take that first step. Right? So if I said, hey, Scott, let's mean you go jump out of a plane tonight in, the valley right there, you'd be like, what the fuck? I've got kids. I don't like, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. We wouldn't do it. But if me and you had practiced for 6 months and studied with the best, I was like, here's a Navy SEAL, the best of the best. Here's the best equipment. Me and you have watched all the videos. We've taken the courses. We've done the practice things, right? And I was like, Scott, now's the time. Let's go, bud. You'd be like, dude, I'm packed, ready to go. Let's fucking hit it. Why? Because you have the knowledge. That's the only difference, the only differentiator. The knowledge then gives you courage, which is what we need. Because we're all lacking courage because we don't have the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, it gives you the courage. And then the third element, which is what nothing happens without, and I'm sure you teach this to your coaching clients as well, is action. Got to take the action. Nothing in this world happens without action. So knowledge, courage, action. If you have those three things, there's no act that you can't conquer. There's no task that you can't do. There's no adversity that you can't overcome.